Hey guys, so today we're going to be talking about nutrition and anxiety. We're going to be seeing a lot of clients that come into the clinic listing that they have either anxiety or depression or both. The two often go hand in hand. Some of them might be on medication already, and some of them might not be. But it's good for us to kind of have a better understanding of what's going on, some of the medications that they're on, what are some of the side effects, and some nutrients we need to be considering when people are taking those medications, or some potential things that we could do to help with their anxiety as well. So it is, a rather complex disease. I don't suffer from either of them, so I don't have an understanding in that respect. But usually, more than one thing can help people improve their anxiety and/or depression, and there could be some underlying issues as well that we're gonna cover in the presentation. All right, so mood and anxiety disorders. And like I said, both anxiety and depression generally result from a complex interplay of factors. So, nutrition is one area that obviously we are specializing in. So it can be a combination of nutritional, physical, environmental, social, emotional, and spiritual factors that can affect genetic tendencies and brain biochemistry. Okay, so neurotransmitters or chemical messengers, which within your brain, can be affected by any of those components. So basically, anxiety and depression are disruptions in brain health, essentially. Mood disorders are characterized by lowering or elevation of a person's mood, while anxiety disorders are characterized by excessive and persistent feelings of nervousness, anxiety, and even fear. Both types of disorders interfere with an individual's everyday life for an extended period of time. So if people are familiar with working with clients who have this, it can definitely affect how they're doing on the program. And I think it's one of those things, you can't really understand depression or anxiety unless you've been there yourself. So it can be hard to understand and relate with the clients when they're going through, a depressive area. So right now we're going into winter, so seasonal affective disorder. I have clients that come in that have issues with depression that are on medication, and 1 week they're great, and the next week they come in and I know something's wrong. So making sure that we're aware of that, and being understanding, compassionate, and empathetic, and not being overly hard on a person when they are struggling through some periods of depression. Often just suggesting things that they can do to help work on it, giving them a goal to work towards can help them, and they might come back feeling a little bit better. But it really depends on the individual, how severe it is, what they're doing to help treat their depression or anxiety. But just understanding that we do have to be mindful that when we do have clients suffering from these things, we might have some highs and lows in the consult room. And it's going to affect probably their compliance to the program as well. So anxiety disorders are, in fact, the most common of all mental illnesses, more common even than depression, but the two conditions often overlap. So you'll see that a lot on the profile questionnaire, that you'll have somebody with anxiety and depression being ticked off. Okay. So some statistics. In 2013, an estimated 3 million Canadians, 11.6%, aged 18 years or older, reported that they had a mood and/or anxiety disorder. More than a quarter, 27%, reported that their disorder affected their life either quite a bit or extremely in the previous 12 months. While the majority consulted a health care professional about their disorder in the previous 12 months, almost a quarter did not. So we have to realize that there are some people that are dealing with this that have yet to see anyone or have yet to do anything about it. Most people with mood and/or anxiety disorders are currently taking or have taken prescription medications, about 93%, but few, about 20%, have received psychological counseling to help manage their disorder. So, medication alone, medication can be quite warranted in some cases of anxiety and depression, and quite needed. But there's also the issue, and we'll talk about this a little bit more, of it being a bit overprescribed as well. Having a little bit of stress, being a little bit overworked, and going in needing something for anxiety, that can cause some issues and some problems if we're just prescribing a medication without looking to address some of the issues that are going on. Becoming more informed about their disorder and adopting good sleep habits are common coping strategies. However, engaging in other self-management strategies besides medication, such as physical activity, exercise, good eating habits, meditative practices, and developing a care plan, they're less common, okay, in terms of treatment. So these are things that we can be talking to clients about, giving them other alternatives, other options. Coming off any type of antidepressant medication or anxiety medication, you should never tell someone to just stop doing that. Some of them, you'll actually have withdrawal symptoms with some of the medications, like the benzodiazepines. So you never want to mess around with any of that. A lot of doctors would be willing to wean a patient off of a medication if the patient wanted to do so. And there might be some other things that we can do as well nutritionally to help that transition or getting off the medication. It's not something that we should really be doing without the help of a doctor, for sure. So how are they treated? So medication and counseling are first-line treatments in the management of mood and anxiety disorders. Not everybody will be having any cognitive behavioral therapy or talking to anybody. And not everybody might need to, post-traumatic stress disorder, anything like that. You definitely probably want to be recommending a client to go and talk to somebody so that they can help work through some of their issues. And not everybody is going to be, some people might be doing counseling and they might not be taking any medication yet. It depends on the person and their decisions and what they've decided to do or what their doctor has recommended. But medications are often overprescribed. So we're going to just go over really quickly, and just so you guys have some of this stuff so we're familiar with it, some of the common medications and side effects that our clients might be on. And we should be asking about that. If they tick off anxiety or depression and they didn't put any medications down, we should be asking if they are taking any medications. They might have forgot what it's called, or they might not have remembered to put it down. So we should be checking that. So selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, SSRIs. So they basically keep the brain cells from reabsorbing too much of the mood-regulating hormone serotonin, so the happy hormone. It is thought that this increase in serotonin helps boost mood. So the more common long-term side effects of SSRIs include weight gain. So we should be aware of that in case we are dealing with a client that is having a hard time losing weight on our program and they're taking an SSRI. It could be part of the issue. Sleeplessness or insomnia, again, that can impact weight loss and sexual dysfunction. So Prozac, Cipralex, Paxil, you're going to see a lot of those names, Zoloft, and of course there are generic brands, so you always be aware to kind of look it up and check to see what clients are taking, if there are any nutrient interactions. A lot of the antidepressant and anxiety medications will deplete certain nutrients, and we'll kind of review that. But it really does depend on the individual, what they're doing, what medication they're on. They could be on more than one medication, so it's not really clear cut and that easy to know exactly what's going on in terms of nutrition. So serotonin SNRIs are another class of drugs that are used that your clients could be on. They limit the amount of serotonin that the brain cells can reabsorb the same way SSRIs do. But they also free up norepinephrine as well, another mood-regulating hormone. So they're thought to be about as effective as SSRIs in the treatment of anxiety disorders. Side effects can include nausea, headaches, minor increase of blood pressure, and again, insomnia. So, we need to be checking, do you have any side effects? They might have already ticked some of this stuff off. They might already have some of this stuff, but we should be asking if they're on something like Effexor, just checking to see if they have any side effects of the medication. Not everybody will, and of course, this is not a full list of the potential side effects that can happen with any antidepressant or anxiety medications. The benzodiazepines, So they help slow down the nervous system, reducing muscle tension, and encourage relaxation. Okay, so these are the ones you have to be more concerned with somebody becoming dependent on it at the right dose. So they're quick acting, and they're a short-term fix to an acute anxiety or panic attack. So anybody having some of those symptoms, they might be on one of these. Again, a lot of times people are on more than one as well. So, I have some clients that are on 4 different, pretty heavy, dose and cocktail of medications, and, it's not really, Valium, some really heavy ones that, they could be dependent on, but it gets pretty complex when you get into quite a few different antidepressants. In low doses, their side effects tend to be mild, and they can include drowsiness, dizziness, sedation, loss of balance. At higher doses, side effects include confusion, disorientation, breathing difficulties, depression, and amnesia. Okay, those would be probably when they're being misused. So they may also cause problems with tolerance and dependence. So Xanax, diazepam, so Valium, and lorazepam, so Ativan. Okay, and you will see that a lot. You just want to make sure people are using them again when they're having an acute anxiety and panic attack, not necessarily all the time. So TCAs, tricyclic antidepressants. So like SSRIs and NRIs, tricyclic antidepressants inhibit the brain's absorption of mood-regulating hormones. They also block other cell receptors that may increase the incidence of side effects. Okay, so they're an older class of medication, and they're sometimes used to prescribe or treat anxiety disorders. So you might not see these as often anymore. Some of the other ones that I mentioned, I'm more familiar with those, and I've seen them more with my clients. I can't think of one client that would be on any of these right now. So side effects include constipation. Okay, so if they're constipated, right, sometimes constipation can be due to a medication that a client's on. So it's always good to check the medications and double check to see if there are any side effects that your client could be experiencing that are due to a medication or could be due to a medication. Blurry vision, dry mouth, dizziness, weight gain, again, that's important for us, and orthostatic hypotension, so that's a drop in blood pressure when you stand up. So those are some of the names. Again, I'm not overly familiar with those, and I haven't seen those a lot. So it's likely that doctors aren't prescribing these as much as some of the other ones. So antidepressants will deplete nutrients. So B-complex vitamins is a big one. Selenium, zinc, glutathione. Okay, so it's involved in liver detoxification. We've talked about that in the restorative detox. Calcium, magnesium, and vitamin C. Okay, and a lot of times as well, people that have anxiety or depression through periods of stress, or if they have a lot of inner stress as well, or inner anxiety, they could be depleting nutrients as well, because when you're stressed, your body actually takes stores of vitamin B and vitamin C from your body. So usually the requirement is a little bit higher because they're using up more of that just from being stressed. So I'm not going to go into again all of the different classes of drugs or the specific medications and what nutrients they might deplete. You can always look that up online. But these are some of the common ones that they will as a group together. So we're going to talk about the gut-brain connection, one of my favorite topics. So there's a lot of new research going on in this area. A lot have been done on animal models, but there have been some human studies, and that's an area that's really an interest to researchers. And again, this is a huge area of research, anything to do with the gut. So we're going to see more stuff, more studies, more research coming out in this area. Right now, people are definitely interested in the gut-brain connection. It's a real thing. We do know that, but the connection between the gut and actual anxiety and depression, and if there is anything in terms of probiotics, prebiotics, that kind of stuff that could be helping anxiety or mood disorders. So this is just an image of how our GI tract can influence our central nervous system. So we'll start on the left. Stress. Okay, we know stress that can actually help, again, deplete certain nutrients, but it can also decrease our diversity of microflora. It can actually kill off bacteria in our stomachs. Dietary or environmental triggers, okay, can lead to microbiota changes. You'll have gut epithelial breakdown if your gut bacteria changes, or you have certain overgrowths of bacteria or yeast, fungi, and can produce leaky gut. So with leaky gut, an immune activation can occur. Inflammatory cytokine production happens, which can break down the blood-brain barrier, can cause an alteration in neurotransmitter levels. If you guys use the weight loss resistance forum, sometimes you'll find that you'll have clients in the neurotransmitter section that they'll have like low levels of GABA, or they might have low levels of serotonin. So there could be stuff happening in the brain section of that handout. So I've seen it in clients that do actually have post-traumatic stress disorder. They have low GABA, like there's some stuff going on at the neurotransmitter level, and they also have gut issues. So I'm definitely seeing a connection with my clients who have digestive issues and who also have some issues with anxiety or depression. So that can change the synaptic plasticity in the brain, which can cause neural and behavioral and mood changes. So you can see it's kind of there's some areas that can go back and forth either way. So stress can cause neural behavior and mood changes, and that can cause stress as well. So our gut is often called our second brain, and the gut actually has its own enteric nervous system. Okay, so the way we're living now, the way we're eating, our unhealthy diets, the amount of stress we have, the lack of sleep, it's leading to a lot of it's taking a significant toll on our gut microbiome. Okay, all these things, the stress, unhealthy diets. There's a lot of things coming out. If you guys watch the Nature of Things documentary on what you're eating and how it affects your gut microbiome, we already know this stuff. I mean, we've been talking about this for 2 years now, or if not longer, but really stressing it within the last 2 years at SFL. A lot of our clients are coming in, with a lot of this stuff going on. They're eating bad, they're stressed, they're not sleeping well. So again, digestive health is critical, and we need to be looking at that and making sure that we're working with our clients to help improve their digestive health if they are taking off symptoms of it. And some people might not be expressing it in your typical, gas, bloating, constipation as well. Okay, there could be some other stuff happening, like rashes. I've seen, again, mood, anxiety. It could be affecting them in another way as opposed to just GI symptoms. So most serotonin is actually made in the gut. So microbes are responsible for a large part of serotonin synthesis, and they affect neurotransmitters and neuropeptide signaling for neurons. Okay. So most serotonin it's not made in the brain, it's made in the gut. So that's something that we found out with research, and it's quite interesting because not a lot of people used to know that. Poor GI health could prevent its production, meaning you've got less of those good kind of the happy chemicals in your brain. Okay. The microbiome and the brain operate in a bidirectional axis. So that means that your gut affects your brain and vice versa. Okay. Anxiety and gut problems can be a vicious cycle. So anxiety makes you more likely to develop gut issues or dysbiosis, so the imbalance of good and bad bacteria. And dysbiosis makes you more likely to suffer from anxiety. Okay. So people used to think that, doctors used to think that patients with IBS, okay, that anxiety stress could be causing a lot of IBS, and it can, but it can also go the other way. So there's a large portion of people that have IBS that also have anxiety or depression, okay? So researchers are finding evidence that irritation in the GI tract may send signals to the central nervous system that can trigger mood changes. So I'm just going to go over a few of the latest research studies that have come out about this. So there have been some studies done in humans, but a lot of the research has been done on mice. Usually that happens first, and then they're going to start trying to use human clinical trials. So studies have found significant differences in the type of gut bacteria in animals exposed to various types of stress, such as maternal separation early in life, social stressors, or prolonged restraint. Okay, so they can actually take the microbiota out of mice, and they're looking to see what happens with mice that don't have gut bacteria in their system. And there is quite a bit of research on that. I'm going to talk about some of the human studies that have been done. So one study examined the specific differences in the bacterial makeup of the microbiome in patients with major depressive disorder in comparison with healthy individuals. Significant differences were identified between these two groups. A lower relative abundance of fecali bacterium was associated with more severe depression. So they're starting to see associations with certain, either people missing a certain bacteria or having too much of a certain type of bacteria in terms of certain clinical symptoms like depression or anxiety. Several studies show evidence for reduced feelings of anxiety, improved aspects of well-being after taking probiotics. In one study, 3 groups of women were given either fermented milk with probiotics, non-fermented milk, or no intervention, twice daily for 4 weeks. They actually did functional MRI was performed both at the start and completion of the study to look at brain activity in response to an emotional attention task. The women who consumed the fermented milk with probiotics showed changes in regions of the brain crucial in emotional processing. So there is a lot of research in this area. It is quite interesting. All you have to do is look it up, and you guys can find a ton of information on it. If you're interested in doing that, I did attach some of the links to some of the studies. I'm not going to go into detail with that. We don't have time for that, and probably nobody wants to hear that. So some of the stuff, so we'll get into some of the stuff that we can be doing. So some of the probiotic strains that they're looking at in the research, Bifidobacterium longum, and that's a specific number of the strain. So you'll see different Bifidobacterium longum on different probiotics, but some have a different code at the end. Okay, so the number there might be different from another Bifidobacterium longum strain. So it's not enough to see longum. This is the one that has been studied in research right now. And Lactobacillus helveticus, okay, are 0052. There are 2 probiotics that contain these 2 strains, Pure Encapsulation's ProbioMove and Zymogen's Probio Defense. Okay, prebiotics are also important, and some of the research is actually looking at prebiotics as well, so the food for the bacteria. And they've also been shown to be useful for anxiety. So GAUs, galacto-oligosaccharides, a type of fiber, has actually been shown to be useful for anxiety and research. And we're probably going to find out a lot more. This is just what we know right now. Any prebiotic foods, soluble fibers, resistant starches, potato starch, sweet potato, a lot of your root and tuber vegetables, fibers from whole grains, that kind of stuff are a source of food for your bacteria. So in the studies, participants were given specific strains of probiotic, and their anxiety improves their HPA axis function. Okay, so that's related to your adrenal glands, stress, cortisol output, all that stuff. So SFL protocol, so kind of what we want you guys to take away from this is making sure that you're screening for digestive issues. Okay, so again, this comes up in every webinar. Digestive health is #1. As Deborah always says, if we're not digesting and absorbing our nutrients, we're not assimilating the nutrients in our food if we're not breaking it down properly and getting it through into the body, into the bloodstream to where it needs to go. Critical area, our brain needs a lot of nutrition, a lot of nutrients. It's a demanding organ in our body. So making sure that clients are digesting and absorbing their nutrients properly by helping them improve their digestive system with things like, Deborah has offered one of her like questionnaires to screen for some of this stuff. She went over that at the last AGM. We have a whole digestive health protocol. We have webinars on it. We've done presentations on it. They're really great programs, really great products that we have available to help people, and it really depends on the person what route you want to take with them. Okay, if people don't want to do it, people don't want to put in the work, you know, you can look at giving them a digestive enzyme, a probiotic. They're going to feel a lot better right away. And then there are other programs like the 4R antimicrobial program, where you're kind of doing an elimination diet and addressing any issues that could be going on. And I've never had one client go through that and not feel better. I think I just had 5 people that just went through it. Every one of them is feeling better in terms of bloating, gas, a lot of the IBS-like symptoms. So underlying medical issues is another thing we need to be aware of. I don't know if you guys have seen a connection between clients with depression and thyroid, okay, but a lot of, if you look and you start looking for the connection, you'll see that a lot of people with thyroid disorder have depression, okay. So my mom, for example, I'll use her as an example, she won't mind. She suffered from depression at one point, you know, went to the doctor. The doctor said, okay, we're going to put you on an antidepressant. It was likely that the depression was a symptom of her underactive thyroid, right? But instead of testing for TSH, testing for her thyroid, she was put on a medication, right, which really wouldn't address the root cause of what was going on in her body, which was her underactive thyroid. So when she finally got her thyroid regulated, a lot of those depressive symptoms went away, okay? So there are underlying medical causes that could be causing depression, and unfortunately, we're not always looking for those. You know, you go in, you have symptoms of depression, you might be getting prescribed something pretty quickly. So getting blood work. So if you have a client that has yet to, you know, take any medication or have anything looked at, definitely getting some blood work would be a good first step that you could suggest to your clients. Okay, so thyroid, getting your thyroid checked. I always, if I see depression ticked off, I don't see the thyroid ticked off, I'll always get them to go check to see if their thyroid's functioning well. Okay. Pretty easy thing to get done, and their doctors are usually willing to do it. B12 is another one. Deficiencies in B12 have been linked to depression. Another easy one to check. So if you have vegans, vegetarians, again, people that aren't digesting properly, if they're on proton pump inhibitors, if they're an older client, they're more at risk for having low B12. Okay, vitamin D, another one, the sunshine vitamin, the happy vitamin. Okay, seasonal affective disorder has been linked to low vitamin D. This is the time of year right now. It's getting darker. We don't have the sunshine. I'm telling a lot of my clients, I'm taking vitamin D myself in the winter. It's nice if they can get checked to see where they're at, because if they're severely low, they might need a higher dose of supplementation to get them up to a level that's within range. But not everyone is gonna, not all the doctors are gonna check for vitamin D. Some do, some don't. I've had, you know, probably 50-50 in that area. It is a more expensive test, so you know, some doctors just say just take vitamin D. You don't have to test for it. But I think it's good to know your level, because I mean, if it's high normal, maybe you don't even need to take a vitamin D, right? There could be a reason why you're synthesizing more vitamin D in your body, and maybe a supplement would actually be harmful. So I do like having that checked, but not every doctor will do that. Dietary changes. So we'll kind of talk about that a little bit in a minute. And limiting caffeine, so using green tea instead, or other teas as well. So L-theanine is in tea, and it can help, it's been shown in research to help with anxiety and depression as well. I had one person today we were talking about, and again, a couple people today actually had, they said they had some anxiety attacks this week. It was kind of timely because I had this presentation. You know, and I'm just double checking again. Are you drinking coffee? Yes, I'm drinking coffee. Okay. You know, what are their triggers? What's going on? What's triggering those anxiety attacks, right? I'm stress of Christmas, the stress of money. There could be a lot of different issues. Driving conditions, you know, that's what one said. It was icy conditions, the roads. I don't know if that's what triggered it. Is it lack of sleep? There's so many factors that could happen that could be causing some of these issues. But, you know, just talking with the client, trying to figure it out. They could write a journal, trying to become more aware of what could be triggering the panic disorders or anxiety attacks. But limiting caffeine is something that I would recommend. I think she was drinking 2 cups a day. So instead of completely cutting out, I said, why don't you try 1 cup a day? Maybe even switching to decaf, right? So you still get that placebo effect with the coffee. Stress Formula, that's a product that we have from Nature's Sunshine. Some of the clinics have it in. We have it here. Again, this is useful when we like to talk food first, so extra vitamin C, B vitamins. A lot of our meal plans, again, are going to be having that. Let's ensure, number one, good digestion so that people are digesting and absorbing the nutrients that they're eating in food. But some clients might want to take a supplement in addition to ensure that they're getting enough of the B vitamins. And the nice thing about the Stress Formula is that it contains some other herbs that can have a soothing and calming effect on the central nervous system. So I think valerian, passion flower, hops, stuff like that, would be an added benefit to just the B and C vitamins that are within that product. So I have a couple clients that have tried that. Same with Adrenal Support, Serenity. There are a few products that Nature's Sunshine has. Stress Formula didn't have any contraindications on it for anybody on already on an antidepressant or anti-anxiety medication. So that's a pretty good one to go with. And clients, again, they might like the name of it as well. But again, during periods of stress, anxiety, you're depleting vitamin B, vitamin C, magnesium, some of those nutrients at a faster rate than you would if you were not stressed. A B complex, again, we're talking about the B vitamins. A lot of times, again, the medications that they could be on could be interfering with the absorption of B vitamins. B6, B12, there's a lot of the B vitamins that have been linked to, low levels of it have been linked to depression and anxiety as well. Vitamin D3, we kind of talked about that. That's something that you could be recommending to anybody that has depression or seasonal affective disorder. It's really something that you want to recommend to a lot of clients right now, regardless. And making sure they're getting D3, not D2, to absorb better. And then talking to them about, in the summertime, how to get exposure to the sun so that they're getting the vitamin D in the summer, and they don't have to supplement at that time. A lot of people go out in the sun, they put on sunscreen, and they don't get any exposure to sunlight. You can't be wearing sunscreen if you want to get the absorption of vitamin D through your skin. That doesn't mean you go out and you burn yourself, but exposing yourself for what they recommend, 15 minutes of sun. So most people shouldn't burn that quickly, and don't be out if you have fair skin. Don't be out when the UV rays are extremely high. Magnesium complex is another supplement that you can recommend to clients. If they're not sleeping well, you'd want to recommend taking magnesium at night. It's been shown, again, to help with some of these mood disorders, but it can also help relax and calm people and help them sleep. Again, if insomnia is a side effect of some of the medications, magnesium might be something you want to try at night. You could also look at melatonin as well if clients are having a hard time sleeping, if they're not already on something like a sleeping pill. And discussing other lifestyle changes. So doing things like seeing a therapist, right? It's always good to have a few therapists in mind for a referral so that you know that you're sending your client to somebody that you trust. Yoga, okay, meditation. I have one client right now. She's high strung, high stressed. Her fat loss resistance form came back high for adrenal fatigue. So I did put her on the adrenal formula from Nature's Sunshine, just to make sure she was getting extra nutrients. Because she is a naturally stressed out person. But we also changed what she was doing for exercise. Exercise is another very important component for lifestyle changes when it comes to depression and anxiety. But we switched her to doing a little bit more yoga, and she's found that's made a huge difference in how she feels and her mood and even her weight loss. It's coming since implementing some of that, because if you're chronically stressed, you have chronically high cortisol, it's going to be very hard for you to lose weight. So journaling, support, talking to someone, having a friend to talk to, those are also really important things for people with some of these issues, okay? Just one sec, guys. I'm just going to grab some water. I just ran out. Sorry, it's really hot in the office. My mouth is dry. All right. So I think I skipped so some dietary changes too, guys. Sorry, I forgot to hit on that point. So eliminating refined sugar. So these are things that, again, dietary changes, our clients are eating, or supposed to be eating really well in our program. You might want to talk to your clients about the importance of some of this stuff if they have anxiety or depression, so that it's another motivator for them to eat well, to help manage their health conditions. So eliminating refined sugar, any refined grains, again, caffeine, like I mentioned, and alcohol is another one. Alcohol can also, if they're on medications, some medications are not good to take with alcohol as well, but it can also lead to, the booze blues, or triggering some more depression in people who are prone to it. Food allergies may also be a factor, again, when we talk about the gut-brain connection. But, reducing the consumption of refined carbohydrates, caffeine, looking at energy drinks, that kind of stuff, making sure nobody's doing that. And obviously refined sugar. So those can play a huge role. You think of kids and the sugar that they're on as well, and some of the behavioral issues that we're seeing. All right, so nutrition can, when it comes to food and mood, it can help fight inflammation. So one theory is that pro-inflammatory cytokines, which are markers of inflammation, they may interact with other proteins in the brain, promoting changes that contribute to depressive illness. So, we had a whole presentation on fighting inflammation, and we know good nutrition can fight inflammation. And we talked about some other things as well. So making sure you're talking to your clients about this, and how that nutrition can play a huge role in this. Okay, it can help improve gut health. Okay, I'm not gonna keep talking about this. We know this already, so I probably won't even go over that. So I have enough time for questions at the end. But what we eat is going to impact the type of bacteria that we have in our bowels. Okay. Promoting, so feeding your mitochondria as well. So mitochondria are kind of like the energy factories of our cells. So there's been some research suggesting that the mitochondria play an important role in brain function and cognition. Okay, so suboptimal mitochondria and mitochondrial diseases. So I think of like multiple sclerosis. They may contribute to mental disorders, including depression. Promote neuroplasticity. So the brain uses nutrients to produce brain-derived neurotropic factor. So that's a protein that's essential to the central nervous system. So some research has suggested that brain-derived neurotropic factor could support neuroplasticity, and that's your brain's ability to adapt, rewire itself, and grow. So that could be especially beneficial in recovery from trauma, so anything, any post-traumatic stress disorder, something like that, and mental illness. Okay, so good nutrition is critical. It's one component, but it is really, really important in anxiety and depression. All right, mood food, we'll go into this a little bit. But again, if people are following our program, they should be eating good foods for their anxiety and depression, okay? So omega-3 fatty acids, okay? Again, focusing on food first always. Fish, nuts, seed, algae oil, B vitamins, okay? Meat, eggs, seafood, green leafy vegetables, legumes, and whole grains. Our program is full of that. Again, we want to make sure their digestion is good so that they are absorbing the nutrients from their food, or else it's pointless. Vitamin D, we've talked about this a few times, so fortified breakfast cereals, breads, full-fat dairy, or fortified dairy alternatives. Selenium, okay, cod, Brazil nuts. We're big fans of putting Brazil nuts on meal plans for selenium. Walnuts and poultry are great sources of selenium. So these are things that you could be putting on the menu, but a lot of times, I mean, these are on the menu already, so we don't really have to go into extreme detail. It's just good to have a better understanding of what our clients, what we can do to help our clients, or some suggestions that we can be recommending as well. Okay. And tryptophan, so protein sources like turkey is a big one that you hear about all the time, beef, eggs, some dairy products, and dark leafy greens. Just some articles for you guys, and I'm just going to open this up for questions. I usually go over time, so I wanted to leave some time for some question and answers. Just let me unmute everyone. Does anybody have any questions? I think everybody's unmuted now. If anybody had any questions, anything they wanted to talk about, anything that they've seen with clients, just a discussion even we could have. No questions, guys? Angela, did you have a question?
Yeah, we were just wondering if we could get a copy of the presentation.
Yes.
I guess we'll get it later.
Yep, I'll post that right away.
Thank you.
Did anybody want to share anything, any experiences, anything that they've noticed, anything that they want to share with us, with me, with everyone else? All right, guys, thanks for coming. If you have any questions, you can always post on the SFL Learning Center or email me directly. If you have any questions you think about after the presentation, I'll be posting the PowerPoint slides and the recording of the webinar as well once it's converted onto YouTube. So thanks for coming. Again, you can.
Brittany.
Oh, yeah. Here.
Sorry.
Usually I wait because somebody thinks of something.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say we apparently had a bit of a difficult time seeing the video on one of our computers. Do you know, is that normal? Did anyone else have that problem?
The PowerPoint slides? You had a hard time seeing it?
Yeah, we couldn't get it up on our screen. It was all just white.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but when I came in and put it on my computer, now we could see it. So I don't know, is that just something wrong with the computer? Or?
Sounds like it, yeah. Unless somebody else had an issue.
Someone else had a problem, yeah.
I could see, I could see everything on the screen, and I guess you guys should be seeing everything on my screen.
Yeah, we can see it now, but
okay.
We couldn't see it. Yeah. Okay, might have been just the computer.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. All right, guys, I'm going to log off. Thanks for coming.